giving tradies and contractors around the globe the tools to run a modern business. You're listening to Toolbox Talks from the Site Shed. Now here's your host, Matt Jones.
So welcome back to the Site Shed for part 2 of this series, where I'm joined by my co-host on this series, Clinton from TradiePad. And if you missed the first episode, we spoke about cloud computing as a bit of a general overview, and today we're going to dive a little bit more into some more specific areas of cloud computing, this one being job management, and then in the following episode we're going to talk about project management. Yes, there is a difference, and you have to stay tuned to find out what that difference is. But Clinton, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me back, Matt. This is great.
Welcome. So Clinton, today we're going to talk about job management as opposed to project management. It is quite confusing, I suppose, for people that don't know the difference. So I'm calling on your expertise to
shed some light.
Yeah, exactly. So just as a general overview, what is job management?
So job management is typically the ability to manage service-based or maintenance-based work, so multiple jobs being completed per day. So a typical plumber doing maintenance or electrician or whatnot. So being able to manage multiple jobs throughout the day, whereas project management is more you're working on the one job for a day or a week or a month. So job management is, I guess, a bit more detailed, and has specific components that we can record information about, like times and materials and notes and photos and all that kind of stuff. And typically you're able to complete a job there on the spot, rather than having to, rather than it going on and on.
So it's kind of like a higher frequency, like more of them in job management, whereas project management, you may not have as many.
Yeah, exactly. And generally with job management, there's a big focus on scheduling.
Yeah.
So being able to schedule multiple appointments per day. Yeah. So you might do 4 or 5 or 10 jobs in a day. You have to be quite specific with the times that you're scheduling for those.
Okay. We might dive into that in a little bit. I'm going to ask you about some of the features in one of the following questions. But,
cool.
Why, as a service-based company, would I implement a job management system? I mean, I've been using my Reese diary for years and years. You know, why all of a sudden do I need job management?
Well, the Reese diary is a good thing to bring up, because I think you mentioned in the last session, I lost my diary once, just as you did, and it was like losing a piece of your brain. So a job management system will give you that recording or appointment capability that you have with a diary, where you can write down the appointments that you book in, and you can maybe record a bit of information. But instead of it being just written on a piece of paper, with a job management system, I can have that information on my phone, on my tablet, on my iPad, on the computer. So it's giving us the ability to keep that information or share that information with other people. So job management system, if you're working by yourself, it's a bit of backup, so that if you lose your diary, you're in trouble. But with a cloud-based job management system, you can't lose that data. And if you've got staff working for you, then it allows you as the business owner to be able to create jobs, and then you can assign them to people and share that information out to them instantly. So you're not making phone calls, you're not writing on job cards, you're not having to duplicate effort. You enter it once and it's just flowing through to where it needs to go to. So the reason to implement a job management system is to get more organised, I guess, more efficient, and generally to give, a lot of times it gives the customer a much better experience as well, because if you've worked for a customer before, you can look up a customer's history. So you're able to look at jobs that you've done for them in the past, see who was there, any photos that were taken. So it gives you a lot more...
it's like data capture.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, a lot more access to the data at the field.
Is there a typical type of company that might see a better, like a more advantage? I mean, obviously there might be certain types of organisations, as in what they're offering, but is there also, maybe the size of the business? Would that make a difference?
Yeah, it would. Like I said, you could be a one-man band, or you could have 50 guys out in the field. The difference there is going to be the features that you need.
Right.
So some systems are good for service-based work where you might be charging fixed rates for particular services like cleaners or pest control, something like that. And then there are other systems that focus more on trade-based work, where it's all about logging time and logging materials, and separating out, having a separation of the cost of those and tracking them and reporting on them. So it doesn't really matter what type of business you are; it just matters that you get the right tool.
Yeah. So okay, we said there's some of the features. There's time tracking. There's data collection. Did you say scheduling as well?
Yes, scheduling is a big one, really big one.
Yeah.
And another one is supplier catalogs. So being able to take a supplier catalog, like a parts list from Reese or TradeLink or TLE or whoever it is, and be able to have that in your system so that you can pick from material items that you've used. Yeah. So you don't have to go to that extent, but a lot of the more capable job management systems will have that supplier catalog import capability. So I can take an entire supplier catalog and import the whole thing in. And then I've got 10,000, 20,000 items there that I can choose from to add to jobs and add to invoices.
Okay. So in a scenario, if I was, say, I don't know, a plumber or a builder or whatever, and I had a job management system in place and I had a catalogue from my supplier, which was in my job management system, does that mean that when I go to quoting or go to invoicing that client, I can retrieve the information on that specific item?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like price and everything?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. And a lot of the higher end systems will allow you to have your cost price, so what you pay for a particular piece of material, and then allow you to set up pricing levels so you can have different rates, different sell prices for different types of customers. So you might do domestic work and real estate work and builders work. You can set up different pricing tiers for each of those different types of customers. Yeah, so it's the idea there is that it's templating your pricing both for materials, and it does the same thing for labour rates. So you template those rates so that you're not having to think, oh, geez, how much did I charge old mate last time I worked for him? How much for the guys that are working for you, instead of them ringing you going, how much do I charge for this? How much do I charge for that? It just templates all that pricing so that then you're just picking items from a list and putting in quantities, and it's then consistent pricing across the board.
Okay. So is that one of the key features one of the key advantages that you see of job management?
Yeah. And it's the particular type of job management system. There's a lot of them out there that don't give you that tiered pricing capability.
Yeah.
So that's questions that we ask when we're assessing business to work out what the best fit's going to be. That's one of the things that we'll look at, is whether or not that tiered pricing requirement is there. If not, we keep it simple. You can have, with all these systems, you can have all the bells and whistles under the sun, but if you're not going to use them, then there's no point. Our system's only as good as the data that you put into it.
Right.
So if it's not applicable, then we don't focus on it. Another really big point that we focus on is where the business is operated from, because a lot of trades don't have the luxury of having someone in the office full time, fielding phone calls and sitting at a computer. There's quite a lot of job management systems that have that requirement to be driven from a web console, from a computer, a laptop or a desktop computer. So for those to operate properly, you really need like an operations manager or something in the office that can sit there at the computer and put all the jobs in and do the scheduling and whatever. So there's a heap of systems out there that are capable of that. But if we're running from the field, and you want to be able to run the entire business from a tablet, then that really narrows down the choices. We need to look at something that's going to give us the capability to maybe run everything from an app, from within the app. And there's a couple of systems that can do that, but that's a really big initial qualifier, working out that structure of the business to work out where the data is being input.
Okay. And can we just talk a little bit about scheduling? Because I know scheduling is a big thing with service-based businesses, and it's something that I see all the time, people screwing up just left, right and centre. How does job management How does the scheduling area of job management work?
Typically, it's around creating appointments. So you'll create a job, and then that job can have appointments created for it. So you might ring up, say I've got a blocked toilet. I'll put the details into the system and create the job, and then we'll schedule an appointment to go out and do the actual work. Now, that block drain, we might have to go out initially and clear it, but then we might have to schedule another follow-up visit in a month's time or something to go and check things out. So those appointments are created within that job, and generally they're created for a day and a time and assigned to somebody. So that those appointments then create like a run sheet or like a log of jobs that you're doing that you have scheduled throughout the day. So the appointments kind of form the basis of the visits that you're making to the client. And with a job management system that allows us to run that scheduling from the field, like through an app, you'll have like a calendar view, and you're able to see in calendar view all of the appointments that have been created for the days, and you'll be able to manipulate those so you can drag and drop and move them from day to day or change hours, because the scheduling, from my experience, it sometimes needs to be quite fluid. You run late on jobs, you might have clients that can't make it, so there needs to be some capability there to manipulate things throughout the day as you're going.
So if you've got a team of technicians in the field and are these calendars visible on their phones or iPads? Is that how they know where they're going? Is it?
Yes, exactly. And with all of these tools, you're able to control access to things, so you can control what your guys can see and what they can't see. So a lot of people will just allow their guys to see their own jobs and not see everybody else's jobs. But you do have the ability to give them access to view other people's jobs if you want to. So yeah, sometimes that can be quite handy because they might need something. They might need to know where you're working or where Bob's working or where Steve's working because they need to get something from their vehicle. So being able to see that, have visibility of that can be quite handy. It just depends on the level of control that you want to have. But yeah, that calendar or that run sheet or jobs list view is like the run sheets, like the old job cards that you'd hand out.
Yeah. So there's a lot of choices out there with job management systems. How do I know which one's going to be the right one for my organisation? What am I really looking for?
Well,
obviously this is why TradiePad exists, but
yeah, exactly. It's a good question because I'm amazed by the number of job systems that are out there, and I'm constantly researching and monitoring the new ones that are coming through, because I've discovered that they all operate differently and they'll all have different features, and those features might suit your business, they might suit someone else's business. So it's a matter of knowing.
So could a feature, are we talking about integrations here, or are we talking about like specific features that would apply to one company as opposed to another?
Integration's one part of it, but yeah, features is the main thing, because you might come to me and say, I have a really specific requirement around tasking, being able to create tasks within jobs, or I might need the supplier catalog like we were talking about before. So there's a whole series of questions or assessment that needs to occur to be able to make that determination of what the needs are, and then matching up the system to suit the needs. So we work with 7 different job management systems now, and not one of them is the same. They're all different. They all suit different businesses. There's one that I just started working with recently out of Canada called Job&, and Job& is aimed squarely at more service-based businesses like cleaners and garden maintenance, that kind of thing, because it's got a lot of focus around managing recurring schedules, so recurring jobs. So a cleaner might do a clean every week or every fortnight or whatever it might be. Being able to set up that recurrent schedule and then manage all of the invoicing and the billing around that, and the notes and the appointments, it's really focused on the whole recurrence thing. Yeah. And if we compare that to, say, something which is more trade-focused for plumbers and electricians like TradiePad has the capability to do recurring jobs, but it's more focusing on time and materials recording. It has the supplier catalogs. So it's more specifically focused on the typical trade businesses like plumbers and electricians.
So do you also, if a plumber was using a certain type of accounting software, say it was MYOB or it might be Xero or whatever,
Yep.
would there be specific job management tools that you would recommend to people that are using different types of accounting packages and things like that?
Yeah, that's always a big focus because you want that integration. You want to be able to create this platform that allows the information to flow, so we're not having to do the double entry. So integration to the accounting package is a critical piece, and that's really very early on in the discussion to work out what accounting system's in place, whether or not it's a requirement to move to the cloud-based accounting, and what features are required there. So, integration is a big focus.
On a slight tangent, do you find that's quite common when you scope companies that they'll sit there and you say, okay, we need job management, and you'll say, okay, well, what accounting, how do you invoice? And people will go, oh, we do this, and you're like, okay. Like then you sort of, well, maybe we need to do something with your accounting.
Yeah, absolutely. All the time. People, you don't know what you don't know. So the business assessment sessions that we do, the scoping sessions, it's information gathering for us to be able to then advise on what the solution's going to be, but it's also education. Mm-hmm. So it's showing the client what this stuff is capable of and how it can all fit together. So really educating them about what technology can do and how it works. So 100%.
So just to recap for the listeners that missed the last episode, TradiePad they're not actually an app. They work with a whole suite of apps and programs that they customize to the individual business's requirements. So they don't represent any one brand in particular. They represent a whole bunch, and then they figure out what's going to be the best solution for you, and they help you implement.
Nice work, Matt. You've been listening.
Thanks very much. So, you got any advice on? I mean, obviously you would. How the best way to I can make that transition into using job management? Let's use that example where I've been running my business out of my diary for the last 5 years. And I am starting to notice that, I'm missing information, I'm missing appointments. I'll rock up to a job and I have to go back and check into my diary from months ago, on things that I might have written down according to that job or that address, previously.
Yep.
What's some advice that you could give me on making that transition into cloud-based job management and implementation?
I think the most important is just keep it simple initially. You don't. When you're learning to drive, you don't jump straight into a Ferrari and take off down the road. You gotta work your way into it. So keep it as simple as you can, within reason, obviously. But don't get attracted by these shiny bells and whistles. Just look for the key things that you need, and start off as basic as possible, because the worst thing you can do is take on something that's too complex and that's going to take too much time or data entry to actually use, because it's defeating the purpose. So, I mean, that it's easy to say, but not so easy to do, because you have to get an understanding of what this particular system that you're looking at can do. And the only way to do that is to put time into it. So do a trial, and you got to get data into it, and then you got to learn it. And I see it over and over again. People spend so much time on research and going down a certain path just to find out it's a bit of a rabbit hole, and they've just wasted all of that time. So I guess that's why we do our scoping sessions. It's to take that time out of it. Take the
you basically do the research.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, leverage our knowledge.
So if I'm listening to this podcast and I was thinking, okay, there's probably something in this for me. What are some things that I should consider, just so I can tick them off and think, okay, yep, I need help with this, I need help with this, I need help with this, I need help with this.
Yeah, integration is going to be one of the key ones, because we want to be able to build this platform, build the solutions and bolt them together. So integration with your accounting package. Where the business is being operated from, like I said before. So being able to either run everything from the field, off a device, or having to have someone in the office full time. So that's a big focus. And
what about so do I need? If I'm having problem with scheduling, or if I've got 4 or 5 guys, I don't have a general overview of where everyone is, or my office staff doesn't have a general overview. So, if you're listening, I'm guessing scheduling would be a big thing. So if you are running a team, or even for yourself, I mean, I know if you're like me, you've got a memory like a goldfish. So,
what are we talking about again?
Yeah, it's important to have. I mean, if it's not in my calendar, it doesn't exist. So I would say scheduling is a very big part of job management.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing to look at there is the type of scheduling. If you're doing jobs where, if say it was like recurring work I mentioned before for cleaners and pool service businesses and stuff like that, then being able to create a job and create one appointment for it, that's about all you need. But if we're looking at, say, a business that's doing a mix of jobs and maybe some small projects like a plumber, for example, might be doing a bit of maintenance work and doing a bit of construction work, then you need to be able to create multiple appointments within the one job. So schedule an appointment for rough in and go back and do fit off, do the drainage, blah, blah. So being able to do multi-visit is something to look at in scheduling.
Okay. So this is what I'm thinking. If I was to, I mean, obviously I want to speak to TradiePad about, getting a job management project system that's going to suit my organisation. However, I want to come in there with some ammunition. So I know I need help with my scheduling, and I know I need help with getting some visibility over where my team is throughout the day. Mm-hmm. So that's one thing I need to look at. I know I probably need help with integrating and systemizing my invoicing solution.
Mm-hmm. And whether you need invoicing in the field is another question.
Okay. Yep. Well, that's a good point too. So, do you want your guys in the field to be creating the invoice, or is that going to be done from the office? I mean, I suppose a big thing, I imagine one of the bigger focuses for you with job management is helping companies get paid on completion of projects.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So being able to generate that invoice there on the spot, that's really important.
Yeah. It seems like trades have been a little bit behind on that. I mean, why? You wouldn't really go anywhere else and you wouldn't go to a restaurant and then say, okay, I'll pay you in 30 days.
Yeah. Nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah, a trade's kind of catching up with that now, I guess.
Yeah. Well, we've got the facilities available to us now. I think it's changing a bit of mindset, because we're all stuck in the mindset of, you do the work and then someone will send them an invoice, sort it out later on. But you got to change that mindset, because cash flow is everything in business.
Yeah.
So we've got the tools available to us now to be able to create the invoice that's going to feed into the accounting system. So we're doing making the effort while we're there with the client, and we can bill for that time. That's a really important one. So you're not sitting there at 10 o'clock at night at your computer, spending time that you're not getting paid for. So we've got to get that knocked out. And then collecting the payment is another one. So the old days of checks or checks or cash is slowly going away. We've got tools now. There's a whole range of tools that let us take credit card payments or FPOS payments out in the field.
Yep.
There's a number of job systems that have payments built into them, so you can actually put some credit card details in against the job, and that processes the transaction and actually pays the invoice. So payments, collecting the money in the field, used to be a bit of a bottleneck, but now we've got so many options around payments, around mobile payments. It's not funny.
Yeah, and there's probably a whole nother episode in that. To be honest, in taking payments, but I mean that is a huge thing, to be able to do the work and collect payment and not have to spend so much time and resource chasing outstanding invoices.
Yeah,
just get paid and get away with it. Yeah, not get away with it. Get paid and get out.
Yeah, but it's like I said, changing mindset and educating your customers about it as well. So when the customer calls and books in a job, you say, just to let you know, our terms of payment on completion, we can take credit card, we can take FPOS, whatever it's going to be. But you set that
manage expectations.
Yeah, you set that expectation early, so the customer knows when you've done the work, you've got to get paid.
And do you get much? Is there much rejection from? Not rejection, resistance from customers these days, or is everyone expecting that now?
I think everyone's expecting it now. Like you said, you go to a restaurant, you go to the supermarket, you go to the mechanic, you got to pay before you can take the goods away.
Right.
So it's the same thing. So there's probably a little bit of a stigma attached to trades that you just leave me an invoice and I'll sort it out. But as long as you set that expectation early, that we're payment on completion, it just takes that out of the equation.
So, I mean, I would say anyone out there that's listening to this and is not actually taking payment on completion of their job, I'd say you are missing out on a massive potential income. I mean, what is it? I mean, I don't even know.
Cash flow.
Yeah, it's cash flow.
And reduction in admin as well, because if you don't invoice that job while you're there, then you have to do it, and you don't take the payment while you're there. You have to do it some other time, and generally it's at night when you finish the day's work. So I don't want to be sitting there at night doing invoicing and trying to collect payments and stuff. So get it done while you're there on site in the customer's time, so that you're billing for it, and you get that job completely closed off and move on to the next one. So it's off your plate.
So if I implement job management into my business, let's run through some things that I can expect to see within my business. So firstly, obviously there's going to be, as we just mentioned, the potential to take payment immediately and not chase debt.
Yep. Invoicing on the spot. Integration to your accounting package. So that from my invoice can just flow. New customers and invoices and bills can flow into the accounting program, so we're not having to enter it manually.
Yeah. What about data collection? So
customer info. So you enter it once and you don't have to enter it again because it goes into your customer database. So then you've got a history of all of the jobs that you've done for that customer. The other thing we haven't even touched on here is quotes. So being able to create quotes, just like an invoice, create a quote on the spot. So when you go out and you do a site inspection and the client says, come and do a quote for me for replacing some guttering or whatever, you do it there on the spot. A number of times, the increase in acceptances from just being able to create the invoice there on the spot and actually give it to the customer, when you can provide that there and then, and the customer's happy with you, a lot of times you get a yes there on the spot. So, and with a job management system, that quote can then get converted into an invoice with the click of a button. Okay. So, and with a lot of the systems you've then got a database of all of your quotes that you've issued, and any that haven't been accepted are shown there in the list, and that really becomes, that's your opportunities, I suppose. That's your list of people that you can follow up for chasing the client for an acceptance.
Yeah. So you can create a quote within the job management program. Then you can present that to the client on the spot. How do they approve, or do they push a button, or do they sign for something? Or
a lot of them have signature capability. So if I've got an iPad there, I can hit the accept button, and that'll then launch a screen that shows a signature panel, and the customer can sign on the screen of the iPad
just with their finger.
Their finger, or with a funky little stylus that you can get, and that it drops that signature then onto the quote document, and that becomes the accepted quote.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so
that's more time saving there, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. And any of these job systems, the job itself. So the jobs generally there's a few things that are standards with the jobs. A job numbering system is built in, so every job that you create gets a unique number. So that job number, that job number then is, I like to say, it's the bucket for all of the job-related info. So all the customer details, any of the appointments, any of the photos and notes that you've recorded, any invoices and quotes that you've created, it's all there within that job record, that one job number.
So, for example, if I went and buy some certain material for that project, I would apply that job number to it, and then on the completion of that job, when I look at all of the costs that have gone into it, I can see, okay, well, I purchased this, I purchased that, I spent this much time on it, I've had this many people go to that project, I'll go to that job. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so the job number itself can be a great identifier for anything related to the job, so purchasing of materials or orders or whatever you're doing, because a lot of times it's much easier to interpret a number than it is to interpret a street name or a suburb or something. I know from my past experience, you go into the supplier and the supplier would say, what job number do you want? What job reference?
Yeah.
And you give them the street name. It might be a weird name that they can't spell. They just put anything in there. And that makes it really difficult for you when you're going back through all your supply bills, trying to cross-reference purchases for a particular job.
Yeah.
If you give a number, it's much easier to interpret a number than it is to interpret a name.
Mm-hmm. All right, cool. Well, have we missed anything there, do you think? Is it?
Quotes and invoices, payments we spoke about, the scheduling, being able to see your schedule and the staff's schedule. Also, just seeing your jobs in a list, just actually having, this is one of the things that was a big eye-opener for me, just having a list of current jobs, of active jobs, so things don't get forgotten. Mm-hmm. So you've got a number of systems will have status capabilities, so you can create a list of statuses that tracks the progress of the job from initial entry through to completion. And you can customize, a lot of them allow you to customize the statuses so that you can create all the different steps that the jobs go through. So it might be, your job might be on hold because you're waiting on parts. So you can apply that status. And when you look at your job list, you can see exactly which stage or status every job's up to.
Okay.
So just that list, just having that list available is a massive benefit because, like I said, things don't get forgotten about them. They don't get lost. I know from my own experience, you've got a folder full of job cards of all sorts of stuff that's going on. Yeah. It's easy for things to get lost.
So, are there any favourites at the moment, or is it all very relevant to the company?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's got to be the right fit for the job, right tool for the job. So, okay, I wouldn't rate one. I can't rate one over the other because it's specific to the type of business.
And I think that's a very good answer. Actually, there's no one product that will do everything for your company. It's very often you've got to get the right tool for the right job. So, one of the advantages of dealing with a company like TradiePad is, of course, they know all the products and they know which one's going to suit you the best. So, I think we've pretty much covered everything we wanted to talk about with project management, unless you can think of anything else.
Job management.
Job management.
No. So one last thing, attachments to jobs. So photos is a big one, being able to take photos and record that as an attachment against the job. Maybe a set of plans or a work order. If you're doing work for clients that supply work orders, you can attach that work order to that job. So like I said before, the job becomes the bucket for all that job info. So being able to log photos and log attachments against jobs, big focus.
Actually, that's a good point, because I imagine in this day and age especially, there's a lot of, you kind of want to be able to prove what you've done. So if you can install evidence. Evidence, exactly. Yeah. So what I suppose with these job management programs, you can do a project, you can take photos of the stages of you doing that work, and then you can take photos of the job on completion of the project, and then you've basically got ammunition in your back pocket in case anything happens.
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
And does that happen a lot?
Yeah. 100%. And again, it's a change in mindset. We haven't had the capability, or we've always had phones and stuff that have had cameras on them, but I remember taking hundreds of photos on my phone, trying to find them again, trying to go back and sort through them all. It's a bit of a nightmare. So with a job system, when you can log those photos directly against that job and they go into that job history, that job record, it's easy to find them if you need them.
Okay. So you can actually take the photo from within the program?
Yep.
That's right. Okay. Well, that's handy. All right, cool. Well, my wrap up on that would be, I suppose, if you are a service or maintenance-based company, then there is a form of job management out there that is going to suit your organisation, and it's going to help you systemize and streamline areas in the space of scheduling, integrations, invoicing, creating proposals or creating quotes. It's going to help you get an overview of your, like a day planner of you and your team. and it's also going to help you with stock and inventory. Well, in the sense that having all that information available as what your material costs are when you go to invoice the customer. Is that a pretty decent wrap up?
Yep, spot on.
Okay, excellent. Well, let's wrap that. In the next episode, we are going to discuss project management, which is different to job management in the sense that it's more targeted towards longer projects. So Clinton's going to give us a good rundown on what kind of companies would benefit most from that. So stay tuned for that, and that's a wrap. So if you haven't already, head across to thesiteshed.com and register for our Toolbox Talks, where you'll be regularly sent great episodes just like this straight to your inbox, so you'll never miss one. If you want to join the community, you can head across to thesiteshed.com/members, where for a small monthly fee, you'll get access to regularly updated training material, as well as access to our forum, where you can mingle and collaborate with trade-based business owners just like you from all over the world. If you're enjoying this podcast, please head across to iTunes and leave us a 5-star review. We greatly appreciate it, and it helps us spread the word and reach the masses. Likewise, if you know anyone that might benefit from the content we create, then please go ahead and share this with them.
You've been listening to Toolbox Talks by The Site Shed. For more great content just like this, head across to thesiteshed.com and join the amazing community of savvy trade-based business owners.